Scouts of the Prairie debuted on December 16, 1872, at Nixon's Amphitheater in Chicago, just over a year after the Great Chicago Fire occurred. The play starred plainsman Buffalo Bill Cody and Texas Jack Omohundro as themselves, scriptwriter Ned Buntline as a trapper, and dancer and actress Giuseppina Moraki as an Indian maiden. Buntline adapted the script from one of his own dime novels. It was far from a critical success. According to the Chicago Times, it is unlikely that Chicago will ever see something like this again. Even Chicago is unlikely to receive such a mixture of discordant drama, execrable performance, renowned performers, mixed audience, awful odor, scalping, blood, and thunder again. Scouts of the Prairie may not have impressed critics, but it was a huge commercial success. Despite its lack of artistic merit, audiences were excited to see famous plainsmen Buffalo Bill and Texas Jack, along with the talented and attractive Giuseppina Moraki. The show continued to tour major American cities, where it was met with the same enthusiastic reception despite its artistic shortcomings. Scouts of the Prairie was the brainchild of Edward Zane Carroll Judson, better known as Ned Buntline, whose career is almost beyond belief. Born in the 1820s, he went to sea as a young boy and was promoted to midshipman after heroically rescuing seamen thrown overboard during a collision in New York's East River. Buntline served in the Navy during the Seminole War and in the Army during the Civil War, although he later falsely claimed to have participated in the Mexican War. He was also deeply involved in political activities with the nativist Know Nothing Party and served a year in prison for his involvement in a political riot in New York. During the run of Scouts of the Prairie, Buntline was arrested in St. Louis for jumping bail 20 years prior for his role in another political disturbance. He was a heavy drinker, but also an eloquent temperance lecturer when sober, and sometimes even when he wasn't. Buntline had a tumultuous personal life, with a long history of marriages, near marriages, liaisons, divorces, and at least one bigamy charge. He was nearly executed after winning a duel with an enraged spouse. Despite his chaotic life, Buntline had a lifelong interest in writing and strong literary ambitions. He edited and wrote for serious literary publications, but found it far more lucrative to write rousing historical fiction and authored numerous dime novels. Buntline had some difficulty convincing a young Buffalo Bill to take the stage. Buffalo Bill, or William Frederick Cody, was just shy of 27 and not yet the world-famous showman of Buffalo Bill's Wild West. However, he was already well known to the public, having built a national reputation as a buffalo hunter, guide, and scout for the Army, with his fame boosted by Buntline's popular dime novels. Cody had already experienced stage fright. Earlier that year, he journeyed east on the request of James Gordon Bennett, editor of the New York Herald, for whom he had previously served as a buffalo hunt guide. Cody attended the Bowery Theater's opening night performance of Fred G. Mader's play Buffalo Bill, the King of Bordermen, which is based on a dime book by none other than Ned Buntline. When the audience discovered that the real Buffalo Bill was in attendance, they called on him to make a reluctant speech. In his own words, "I made a desperate effort and managed to say a few words, but I couldn't recall what they were, and neither could anyone else in the house." But Buntline was persistent, and Cody eventually gave in, likely swayed by the financial incentive and perhaps a bit of vanity. "There is money in it, and you will be a great draw since your character is unique on stage." Texas Jack, as John Baker Omohundro, had a similar background to Buffalo Bill. While he never achieved the same lifelong fame, he was a well-regarded plainsman in 1872 and, like Buffalo Bill, a hero in dime novels. Born in Virginia in 1846, he moved west to Texas as a teenager. When the Civil War broke out, he returned to Virginia, served the militia as a courier, and managed to enlist in the 5th Virginia Cavalry in 1864 when he was 18. After the war, he returned to Texas and the burgeoning cattle business, where he drove cattle and honed his skills with horses, guns, and lassos. According to one newspaper, he led a cattle drive to a town in Tennessee to alleviate a meat shortage, earning the nickname Texas Jack from grateful residents despite his Virginia roots. Texas Jack later spent time in Kansas and Nebraska, gaining a reputation as a guide, hunter, and scout for the Army. There he encountered scouts such as California Joe Milner, Wild Bill Hickok, and Buffalo Bill Cody. When Cody consented to join Ned Buntline on stage, Texas Jack accompanied him. Giuseppina Moraki was born in 1846 in Milan, Italy, and began training as a dancer at the age of 6. She gained a significant reputation across Europe and England before making her American debut in 1867. She received enthusiastic reviews in several eastern cities for her performances as a dancer and actress, eventually forming her own company, the Moraki Ballet Troupe. Known as the incomparable Moraki, she is credited with bringing the can-can to America at Boston's Theatre Comique. It's puzzling why such an accomplished artist would agree to appear in Scouts of the Prairie, a production seemingly mismatched with her talents. Perhaps it was owing to Ned Buntline's seductive charm or the prospect of financial gain. However, there may have been a third reason. She fell in love with Texas Jack, and they married the following year. Even before its debut, Scouts of the Prairie encountered several setbacks. Jim Nixon withdrew as a partner when he discovered on Thursday that the show was scheduled to open the following Monday, yet Ned Buntline had not yet written the script or assembled a company, including the 10 Sioux and Pawnee chiefs promised in a newspaper ad. Buntline had to lease the amphitheater from Nixon for $600, half paid in advance, and gather the cast from whatever local talent could be hastily recruited. According to Cody, Buntline penned the play in 4 hours, enlisting Sherman House hotel clerks as helpers. With little time to spare, Buffalo Bill and Texas Jack didn't fully memorize their roles. Cody stumbled over his lines initially, relying on prompts from Buntline and resorting to awkward ad-libbing during the performance. Despite his lack of polish and stage experience, the audience responded with frequent applause, overlooking his shortcomings. The script hasn't survived, which may not be a significant loss. An outline of the plot can be inferred from a synopsis found in a surviving program from a Boston performance on March 5, 1873, although it's uncertain if the printed program accurately reflected the actual stage production. The play resembles a mid-20th century B-Western, infused with Victorian sentimentality and strong influences from the late 19th century temperance movement. It includes villainous white renegades, captives in need of rescue, Indians portrayed both as treacherous adversaries and sympathetic victims of alcohol, a dramatic death followed by vengeance, a scalp dance, a knife duel, a polygamous Mormon and a German traitor, a sentimental lament over a deceased lover, a surplus of gunfights and dying Indians, and a temperance lecture delivered by Ned Buntline. The following season, the troupe, now known as the Buffalo Bill Combination, split from Buntline under unclear circumstances and brought on Wild Bill Hickok, a friend of Cody's and Texas Jack's known for his reputation that could draw an audience. They performed plays of the same kind, including Fred G. Mader's Scouts of the Plains and Cody's old adversary, Buffalo Bill, King of the Bordermen. Unfortunately, Hickok was unsuitable for a theatrical career. His on-stage antics included demanding genuine whiskey instead of cold tea, loudly protesting against an annoying spotlight, and playfully shooting too close to the legs of actors portraying Indians, leaving powder burns. Off-stage, he got into altercations such as assaulting a taxi driver in New York for overcharging him. Cody had to bail him out, and brawling with locals in Titusville, Pennsylvania. Eventually, everyone, including Hickok, had enough, and he left the troupe with a severance package. Despite this, he remained on good terms with Cody and Texas Jack. Over the next few years, Cody balanced dual careers as a part-time plainsman and part-time actor, splitting his time between hunting and scouting on the plains, highlighted by a dramatic encounter with Cheyenne warrior Yellow Hair and his emerging stage career. He also dabbled in writing, contributing dime novels and an autobiography, although much of his literary output was likely ghostwritten. Cody launched Buffalo Bill's Wild West in 1883, reportedly inspired by a lively 4th of July celebration the previous year in his hometown of North Platte, Nebraska. Texas Jack and Giuseppina Moraki wed in Rochester, New York on August 31, 1873. Following a path akin to Cody's, Jack divided his time between plainsman activities and stage performances, also writing for publications like The Spirit of the Times and the New York Herald. By 1877, he had parted ways with Cody to establish his own theatrical group. similar to Buffalo Bill's Enterprise. Meanwhile, Giuseppina continued with her theater career. Their time together, however, was brief. Texas Jack succumbed to pneumonia in Leadville, Colorado in 1880, just shy of his 34th birthday. Giuseppina died of cancer 6 years later at the age of 39, at her summer home in East Billerica, Massachusetts. After leaving the Buffalo Bill combination, Buntline went back to his home in Stamford, New York, tried a couple of unsuccessful ventures in traveling show business, took part in several political and civic endeavors, and kept up with his writing. He passed away in 1886 due to heart disease. Despite its flaws, the historical impact of Scouts of the Prairie cannot be overstated. While not the first dime novel adapted for the stage, it featured two renowned plainsmen portraying themselves to an enthusiastic audience alongside a premier dancer, guided by the inventive mind of a daring writer. This production played a pivotal role in Buffalo Bill's career, enhancing his renown and providing him with the confidence and experience to establish the Buffalo Bill combination. This prepared the way for Buffalo Bill's Wild West, which introduced the American West to audiences across America and Europe, establishing the careers of characters like as Annie Oakley and Pawnee Bill. Even more significantly, Scouts of the Prairie contributed to the genesis of the iconic American Western genre. It marked a crucial artistic shift from dime novels to the stage and eventually to the silver screen, culminating decades later with the release of The Great Train Robbery and the dawn of the motion picture industry.